Hi, I'm Peggy Oliveira. Welcome to my new Q&A where you can ask me anything. I am so excited to be doing this new series with you. And I say with you because without you submitting your very courageous questions, this couldn't exist. So thank you for participating in this series with me. One of the things that I have learned over the time in doing these YouTube videos is that what people really gain from this is understanding themselves on a deeper level. And so being able to answer the questions that you have helps other people too. Hopefully it helps the person asking, but the reality is it's going to help so many other people because anytime that we're struggling with something, there's somebody else, if not hundreds or thousands of other people who are struggling with the same things. So, in my first episode of Courageous Questions Leading to Courageous Conversations, I am going to answer a question from Sarah. And Sarah shared, I know it wasn't my fault. I can look at everyone else and never think that they did something to cause their own abuse. Why do I still blame myself? Okay, so I am going to try to make this somewhat concise. But the reality is that for many people, you can know something up here. You can know it at a cognitive level. You can know it in a rational way that it wasn't your fault, in part because you can look at other people's stories and experiences and say, well, of course they're not at fault. Of course they didn't do anything to make that happen. But that's all up here. We blame ourselves initially as a way to cope with what's happened. We blame ourselves because it, on some level, in our child mind, helps us feel that somehow we have control over it. That if we are doing something to make it happen, then that kind of means that we can do something to make it not happen. Now, obviously, that is not reality because it's not us making it happen. But in a child's mind, that's how you cope with it. It helps you feel like you've got some aspect of control. Otherwise, it would feel incredibly overwhelming, so much so that you really may not be able to go through your day. Okay. So because that starts from the very beginning as a way to cope, that becomes your belief. You believe that it's absolutely your fault, and you will find anything that you can point to make it your fault. You didn't say no. You didn't fight. You didn't tell. You sat on his or her lap. You loved him. You didn't shun him, or you didn't act like you hated him. You maybe took a gift or candy or money from him or her. Maybe you even did something to that person. And I put that in quotes because we tell that to ourselves. We say to ourselves, if you're made to do something, touching somebody, saying something, whatever, we tell ourselves that we did that. Again, it helps us feel like we have control over it. And in some ways, it appears as though we did that. But the reality is that's not the case. We were made to do those things. So you will point to absolutely anything that you can to hold on to that self-blame. So that becomes an ingrained belief. So without even having to think about it, you may never even think about your abuse, But at your core, you believe that it was your fault. So then, as you become more aware and maybe you start going through the healing process, you start paying more attention, you learn, you rationalize, and you know up here in your mind that it wasn't your fault, that belief is still there. You still grab a hold of those pieces of so-called proof that it was your fault. You see yourself and your experience as being different than all those other people that you can look at and say it wasn't their fault. You believe that for you, it's different. So you continue to blame yourself. So how do you then change it? Because it's not about it being your fault, because it's not. It never has been. Under any circumstance, I don't care what your so-called proof is, it was never, has never been your fault. You have never been to blame. You did not create this, and you did not do anything to make this happen or to make it continue to happen. So how do you change that? How do you let go of that self-blame? You have to feel it. You have to be able to internalize the truth. You have to feel it in your body. You have to trust it in your soul. When you look at somebody that you know that you care about who has also blamed themselves for their own abuse, really look at them. Really see them as a child and connect with all the reasons that you know that it's not their fault. Remind yourself that you are also a child. Look at the things that they hold on to as proof that it was their fault. And all the things that are very real that you can say as to why that's not true. Those things exist for you too. Allow yourself to feel that. Allow yourself to really honor that reality for that child, for the child that's still inside of you, the child that is hurting and feeling so much shame because they believe, because you believe that somehow you're at fault. All those things that you say to yourself as to why you are to blame and everybody else isn't, none of it is based in truth. It is based totally from your child's mind as a way of trying to cope. That's it. That really is it. I know for some of you, you may have actually been told, either by your perpetrator or sometimes even from other people, if you ever told anybody, that it was your fault. That doesn't make it any more true. Whether it's somebody else saying it to you or you saying it to yourself. Either way, never your fault. But when you've actually had somebody say that it was your fault, it can make it a little bit more difficult because not only do you have your own voice saying that it was your fault, but you have somebody else's actual voice telling you that it was. But when somebody tells you that it's your fault, again, whether it's your perpetrator or somebody that you've disclosed to, it's a way to manipulate. It's a way to make themselves feel better. That's it. That's the only reason that somebody says it's your fault, is because then it makes them feel better. So if you still hold on to the idea that somehow you are to blame for your abuse, in whatever way that shows up for you, take a deep breath when you notice that. Take a deep breath and let it out through your mouth. And then say to yourself, it wasn't my fault. That's it. Just take a deep breath, in and out. It wasn't my fault. I could not have caused that to happen. I was a child. And then take another really nice, full, deep breath and let it out with a sigh. It is not now. It has never been your fault. Thank you for joining me in this Q&A. I would really love to hear from you, your thoughts, your questions around this particular video. Sarah, if you're watching this, I would love for you to share what comes up for you, or for anybody else really, just what you noticed as a rebuttal as I spoke. What did you say to yourself? What did you notice saying, yeah, but? Because that happens a lot for all of us. I would really love for you to comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your reactions of what this video maybe brought up for you. So please share in the comments below. I will be sharing this on social media too, so you can share your comments there as well. Thank you to everyone joining me today, and I'll look forward to seeing you for our next courageous question. Have a beautiful day.